the final river bet has to be big. I'm basically shoving any card that comes except a diamond, and we go heads up to the river, which is a... Welcome back, guys. This is vlog number 9. Does not go the way I expected it to. There are players out there right now on the verge of never playing poker again, or are just starting up, and they're wondering, how can they run so bad? Well, you're not the only one. Everyone runs that way, and a lot of times it feels like it is just you. Watch what happens in this session and realize it's just part of the game. Just keep on working on your game, making good choices, and eventually it'll pass. Don't forget, you're not alone. And when you're running bad, you're going to have to find ways to make some money anyway. And while we did lose this session, there was a hand in particular that I did just that. So look for the big bluff coming up near the end of the middle of this session. This is going to be a long one, so let's get right into it with hand number 1. We are in the cutoff. It's been about 15 minutes since we first sat down. We've gone through the blinds and have yet to play a hand, and we pick up Jack. The straddle is on from the button for $6. The big blind calls, under the gun folds, early position, middle position, and the hijack all limp for 3. The straddle says, hold up, and they all toss in 3 more. Low jack folds, and now it's a question of how much to raise. The pot is already $30 with 5 players, so I toss in 2 green chips, and it's over to the button. He doesn't have anything, so he folds, and everyone else is afraid of what I have. They all fold. Next up, we have a dealer change and play a bomb pot, and this is the hand right after. The cutoff left, so we get the cutoff for a second time. We've got ace-10 of clubs, and the early position limps. It's folded to me, I raise it to 15. The big blind tries to check, and the dealer starts pulling in the limps. Then he realizes that I raised it, and now the big blind folds, and the early position tries to figure out what's going on. He finally makes the call, and we are off to the flop of Queen King 7 with 2 spades. It didn't miss us completely. We've got a gut shot. He checks it over, and we c-bet for 15. He calls quickly, and the dealer rolls over the jack of spades. Not the best jack in the deck. This guy could have had a spade draw on the flop. But he checks again, and there are a lot of different hands that he could have here, including ace-king with the ace of spades. He could have 10-9 or slow playing 2-pair or a set. Some of these guys love to sandbag. I continue with a bet of 20. I don't want to blow him off one of those hands just because the spades came in, but he decides that the spades are just a little too scary, and without a redraw, he folds. Under the gun and the early position both limp, and we look down at ace-jack in the hijack. The low jack limps, and we think about limping along for half a second and then think better of it. We raise to 15 to whittle down the number of people in the pot. That works like a charm, and we go to the flop heads up. No, just joking. The cutoff button, under the gun, early position, and low jack all call. 6 ways to the flop. 5, 4, 2, rainbow. When you go multi-way, hand values drop precipitously along with each additional player. It checks to me, and we just have a gut shot to the wheel. We want to realize our equity, so we check. It gets checked around, and the turn is the 2 of spades, pairing the board and bringing in the spade draw. He checks to me again, and I decide to take a stab. Checking back here is probably better, but nothing wrong with trying to take it down now after everyone checks. I make it 15 again. Under the gun calls, and the low jack also calls. The river is a 5, double pairing the board and making it more likely that they do not have a 5. Under the gun now donks out for 50. The low jack folds, and it's on me. This should be an easy fold. It's almost certain that he has a 5, deuce, or pocket 4s. Even worse, I just have ace high. I decide he's trying to make a move, and with the pot at 185 and only 50 to call, it's very enticing. In game, I call, but this is a clear fold in this scenario. He flips over 5-3, and we are toast. I'd like to say we lost the minimum, but we lost 50 more than we should have on this hand. We play a few more hands and add on for another 100 when we get some good news. We've got jacks again in the hijack. Early position limps and we raise to 15. The button, big blind, and early position all want to see the flop, so we go 4 ways to king, deuce, 5. They check it over, and 4 ways I'm checking back. Button checks, and the turn is a 9. This card doesn't really change anything, but now the early position suddenly likes his hand and bets out 15. He could easily have checked a king on the flop. My hand has showdown value, so we go ahead and call in case he's just stabbing at it. The big blind doesn't believe him and calls. There is no flush draw, but there is the low end straight draw. Big blind could also have a weak king. Either could also have a 9 or a pocket pair below the kings. Big blind is unlikely to have a strong hand, and the early position probably doesn't have a set, but could have 2 pair. The river is another 9. This doesn't really help me out at all. The big blind checks. Early position bets out again for 50. Remember, this was a 4-way flop, and with big blind behind, I should be folding this hand. Either of these guys could easily have a king, and with the check on the flop, they could also have a 9. My hand is purely a bluff catcher. This is an under bluff spot. The pot is 155 and it's 50 to call, so of course I call. Big blind folds and he flips over queen 9 for runner trips. I add on another 100. Half an hour later, we've lost a few more small pots and add on for yet another 100. Death by 1,000 cuts. Except now we are in the hijack and look down at pocket aces. Under the gun limps. This is the same guy from the last few hands. The low jack limps as well. I raise to 15. It folds to the under the gun and he calls. Low jack follows suit. 3 ways to the flop. King, king, 7. That's a pretty good flop unless they have a king. They check it over and I decide to bet. The pot is 49, so on this board I should be betting around 50 or so. Instead, I just auto click to 15. Under the gun calls, but the low jack folds. The turn is now a 2 of hearts, bringing in a flush draw. This doesn't change anything. He checks. So what is his range here? King X, 7-7, 7X are most likely, but pocket pairs are possible as well. This guy could have just about anything here with that small bet on the flop. So now I should be going higher. The pot is about 80. I should be betting around 80 to try and make up for the small flop bet. I make it 15 and he calls again. The river is the 3 of hearts, bringing in the flush. Under the gun now donks out for 35 into the $110 pot. Carrying forward his range, we can say with some confidence that he does not have a flush here, but there is still a small chance. He could also have King X. He's been slow playing. It's not a tough spot because the bet's so small, but if I was to raise, there isn't anything that I could beat that is likely to call. So I just toss in the call, expecting to win most of the time. He turns over pocket 4s. I'm a bit surprised at this, but even though I played this poorly, I take it down. A couple minutes later, and we've got jacks again, this time under the gun, and we raise it to 15. The low jack button, small blind, and big blind all call. We're 5 ways to the flop of 4 king 10. A double whammy. 5 ways and an overpair mean our hand is barely showdown value. It gets checked around and the turn is a 5. The small blind now donks for 30 and the big blind calls. We still have showdown value, so we call as well. We go 3 ways to the river, which is the queen of clubs. This completes some straight draws as well as some 2-pair combos. The flush draws miss. They both check. I still have a tiny iota of showdown value, and they could easily be planning on a check raise here, so we check back. The big blind flips over king 3 of spades, 4 top pair, and we lose this one. The button straddle is on for 6, and we look down at pocket aces again in the cutoff. The small blind calls, under the gun calls, early position calls, and now it's on me. 4 people in there, so I raise it up to 55, trying to clear up the field. It actually worked. Under the gun calls, and we go heads up to the flop. 7, king 6 with 2 clubs. That's a pretty good flop. But if he's got nothing, this hand won't last long. He checks, and I down bet to 20. He thinks about it for a second and calls. The turn is a queen, and he checks again. The pot is 168, and there are a lot of strong hands in his range, so I bet out 75, expecting a call often. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a strong hand, and this time he folds. An hour later, and we pick up another premium. This time it's kings in the big blind. There's one limper before the button makes it 15 to go. We're raising it up here. We make it 50, and the button thinks about it for a while. Now, there are 3 types of run bet. Not getting any cards. This is where you don't really lose much. Then there is the one where you get good hands, and they always miss. This is where you lose a medium amount. Then there is the really bad runs, where you get premiums and the big hands and lose big time. Fortunately, this isn't one of those, and he finds a fold. I've got pocket 5s in the big blind, and the early position limps. Hijack limps, and then the cutoff raises to 15. Before the small blind raises it to 51. This is another easy fold. I'm a little on tilt from folding so many hands tonight, as well as not making money on the big ones. I think that if I can hit a set, I can possibly double or triple up here. I decide to set mine and call the 51. The larger the stacks and the more willing the opponents are to get into a big pot, the more this play makes sense. But this should be a fold in this exact situation. The cutoff calls, and we see the flop 3 ways. Queen, 10, 6, rainbow. That was close. But we check it over to the cutoff, and he bets out 50. When the small blind calls, there's nothing left to do but fold. I shouldn't have been in the hand in the first place. Early position and middle position both limp, and then the low jack bets 15 again. He's been doing this all night, and he seems like a thinking recreational player. I look down at 7 deuce of hearts, probably one of the worst hands in the deck, and decide that I'm going to make a play at him. This is not a suggested strategy and probably shouldn't be done. And this, my friends, is the hand you've been waiting for. I call, and the small blind, big blind, early position, and middle position all call. We're now 6 ways to the flop with 7 deuce of hearts. And the flop is 10, 2, 3 with 2 diamonds. It's not completely bad. We have bottom pair and a backdoor flush. It's fantastic. But we weren't calling to flop something. We were calling to make a play. Everyone checks, including the original bettor. This is my chance to start the play. I bet out 15. This bet is not intended to get everyone to fold, nor do they. The small blind, big blind, and early position call. 4 ways to the turn, which is a 9. This actually improves my hand to a flush draw, but I didn't need that to keep the bluff line going. What I do need is for that diamond to not come in on the river. They check it over, and now I start to escalate. I bet out 200 into the $150 pot. Big diamond draws could call there, as well as a 10, maybe even pocket 7s or 8s, but that's less likely. Big blind thinks about it a while and then puts in the call. He still has a few hundred behind, which is important here. In order for this bluff to work, the final river bet has to be big. I'm basically shoving any card that comes except a diamond, and we go heads up to the river, which is a 9 of clubs. He checks it over, and we put it all in. This is not going to work 100% of the time, but it should get all of his pairs to fold. He should never have aces through jacks here either. He does fold quickly, and we take this one down. We are in the cutoff with King 10 of hearts, and the early position limps. So we limp along with this beautiful hand, and the button limps. Small blind completes, and the big blind decides to raise it to 13. Then the early position aggressive guy raises it again to 35. We have position with 2 to a royal flush, so we toss in the call deep stacked. Big blind calls, and we are 3 ways to the flop of Jack, Jack 9. Early position bets out, and the dealer says 40. I've got the gut shot with an overcard, and I know he can just be bluffing here, so I call, and now the dealer says raise to 40. Internally, I'm like, what? But externally, I keep my composure as though that's actually what happened. Big blind now folds, and early position calls. The turn comes an ace. He checks it over. I should just be checking back here to realize my equity, but instead, I decide that I need to keep the story up now that I accidentally raised on the flop. So I go ahead and make it 80, expecting a fold quite often. But this time, he jams it all in, and I fold. I lose an extra $100. It's over another hour before we get the next interesting hand. We have Jack 10 under the gun. Normally I'd raise here or fold, but I only have one red, so I just toss it in. Hijack bets 11, cutoff button, small blind, big blind, all call, so I call, and we go 5 ways to the flop. 9, 10, queen. We just flopped the open-ended on a rainbow board. We check it over to the original better. He actually checks it through, and the turn is a king. We now have the second nuts. We check again, as we think it's very likely someone is going to be betting this time, and they do. The cutoff bets 15, and the button calls. There are a lot of hands that will call a big bet here. But I go a bit overboard, and I bet 200. Something like 100 would be better. It folds to the button, and he makes the call. The river is the 8. The diamond draw missed. I jam, and he quickly calls. I flip it over, and he flips over Jack 9. We chop this one up. Under the gun limps, low jack bets again to 15, and the hijack calls. I should either be raising or folding here, but I stupidly call with Jack 9 on the button. It's been a long day, and I'm off my game. Everyone else folds, and we are 3 ways to the flop. 9, queen 6 with 2 diamonds. We have some showdown value here. They check, and we check back. The turn is a 3, and now he delays c-bets for 20. The hijack calls. I could be good here with the 9, and it's small, so I call. The river is an 8, and the diamond draw misses. He bets out 85. I think about it a little bit. He checked the flop, then bet the turn and river. He could have 7s, 8s, ace-king, or a missed diamond draw. I completely miss the possible straight draws and end up calling, thinking there's a small chance I'm good here. But of course I'm not. He flips over 7, 5. Definitely not something that I had in his range, but next time I see him, it will be there. Sometimes you just make stupid decisions and miss things that are obvious. I add on another 100 when I should be leaving. We now find ourselves in the big blind with pocket 8s. Early position limps, and low jack bets out for 15. We are obviously calling with 8s. It's heads up to the flop of ace, 5, 8, and that is perfect. We hit our set against a pre-flop better on an ace-high board. That's looking like a big pot coming. We check it over to the better, and he bets out 15. This is a good start. But we should be raising it here to around 75. Instead, we just call. The turn is a king. Now there is a spade draw out there, but that's not very important. I check again, thinking he's going to bet again, but instead, he just checks back. And now the river is the queen of spades, bringing in the straight and backdoor flushes. If he has an ace, he's probably not calling much now, and that's why raising on the flop is so important. I don't think he's going to bet again, so I bet out small, $20, begging for a call. He does call. I flip over my hand, and it's good. Unfortunately, it's another small pot. It's hard to win when you win the minimum and lose the maximum hand after hand. The next hand, we are in the small blind with Queen Jack. Middle position limps before the low jack raises it to 20. Cutoff calls. I should be folding here, but I call, and we go three ways to the flop. 9, 10, deuce. We check around, and the button bets out 35. I double check my cards to make sure I've got an open-ended draw with 2 overs. I do, so I call. Everyone else folds, and we are heads up. The turn is a queen. Now we have top pair with the straight draw. I check again, expecting him to bet most of the time. This does complete a straight draw, so I have to be a little careful. He does bet out. He bets 60, and I'm trying to decide if I should raise or call. After a while, I decide to jam it all in. I've got top pair with the redraw and blocker. He doesn't think very long before calling, and the river is a 6. He flips over Jack 10. The queen holds, and we finally win a big pot. We're in the big blind again, this time with 5-4 of spades. One of those beautiful hands you love to play that always loses you money. Early position limps, hijack limps, the button raises again, this time to 20. I call, early position calls, and the hijack calls. We go 4 ways to the flop of 4-2-4, rainbow. That is a fantastic flop for us. We check, expecting someone to bet here, but it checks through, and the turn is the queen of hearts. Now there is a flush draw out there. We should be leading out here unless we think someone is going to bet, and there's no reason to think that right now. In game, with 3 people behind, we think that one of them is probably going to, so we check again. And now the button delay c-bets for 25. This is finally our chance. We need to raise it up here somewhere in the $200 range, but instead I just call. My play continues to get worse as the night goes on. The river is the king of hearts, bringing in the flush draw. I check it over so he can bet again. I don't think he'll call much now, but he could still have some strong hands. He does bet $60. I should just be calling this bet. I've got showdown value at best. But of course, that's not what I do. Instead, I have a brain fart and bet out 200. A desperate attempt to get back to even, which I'm actually very close to at this point. But he calls and flips over ace-7 of hearts. I played this hand very poorly and paid the price because of it. But the night's not over yet. We are in the big blind with 7-3, and there are 5 limpers, so we check our option. The flop comes 6-7-7. What a dream flop. There are 2 clubs on board, and we can't make the same mistake we made with the 5-4. But we do think someone's going to be betting here, so we check, and the button bets out 12. The small blind calls, and we raise it up to 55. Now the small blind calls again, and the turn is an 8. The small blind checks it over, and I overbet to 150. And the small blind calls again. The river is the queen of clubs, bringing in the flush. He checks again, and I decide to check back. He waits for me to show and then shows king 5 of clubs. I add on another 200 and we keep playing. Under the gun limps, middle position raises it to 15, the low jack calls, and we're in the hijack and we look down at pocket aces again. Finally, let's get some of our chips back. I raise it up to 75 and everyone folds. Fantastic. We've gotten a ton of premium hands and we've either won a small pot with them or lost with them, and that is just how the night's going. So we add on another 200 and pick up ace jack in middle position. I make it 15 to go, and the hijack and cut off both call. The flop comes jack 5 5. That's a pretty good flop. I check and the cutoff bets out 15. I call with my value and the hijack folds. The turn is a king, no reason to bet here. I check, he checks behind, and the river is another king. This is actually a good card. It is now less likely he has a king. It's also less likely he's going to fold to a small bet. If he has a jack, we could be chopping or winning. If he has 6s through 10s, or even just an ace, he's likely to call a bet. So I bet out small for 30, and he calls. You think it's going to be a chop and shows ace 10, but we take this one down. Not a huge win, but at this point, we will take anything we can get. It's now pretty late. We should have left a couple hours ago. Under the gun makes it 16, and I look down at 9, 10 of hearts in early position. That's good enough for a call here. The cutoff agrees, he calls, the button calls, and we are 4 ways to the flop. 5, 10, 8. We've got top pair and backdoor straight draw and a flush draw. Under the gun bets out 35. We should definitely be raising here, but we decide just to call. Everyone else mucks immediately, and the turn is a jack. Now under the gun bets out 65. The 10 isn't looking so good now, but this guy bets a ton, and when you've got a super aggressive people, you need to call with thin value and showdown value more often. So I call. The river is another 5. It doesn't change anything, and he bets out 85 again. This is a tough spot. What's his range? He could literally have his entire range from under the gun, and that includes all of his missed hands. I've got second pair. I don't like it, but I just have to close my eyes and call. I do call. He flips over 6-6, and we are good. We lose a few more hands, including a bomb pot, before calling it a night. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to hit the like button. We try to get all these videos to 100 likes or more. If you're not subscribed yet, hit subscribe. That really helps the channel out. Don't forget to comment if you've got any thoughts or suggestions. And if you know anyone that likes poker vlogs, share this video with them. And don't forget, good luck at the tables.